The roster for CJI is now complete. Let's go over the under 80 kilogram division and analyze who's good, who's not so good, what are some interesting matchups, etc. So in my opinion, the under 80 kilogram division is the more competitive division, and in fact, I think this might be the greatest roster or bracket in the history of no-gi grappling. So let's first look at who is actually in the tournament. First off, we have Tommy Langacker, followed by Jason Nolf. Then we have Lucas Hulk Barbosa, Owen O'Flanagan, Mateus Diniz, Hanato Canuto, Roberto Jimenez, Levi Jones-Leary, Joseph Chin, Nicky Ryan, Ty Ruotolo, Cade Ruotolo, Andy Varela, Andrew Tackett, Kenta Iwamoto, and finally Majid Haig. As you can see, this is really an all-star lineup. I think no matter who's matched together, these are going to produce some good matches. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the brackets and seeing how this turns out. But let's really take a look at who's fighting and the different strengths and weaknesses. So what I've done here is kind of divided everyone up into different categories. So first let's talk about the people highlighted in yellow here. These are the people who I think are mostly like guard players or bottom players. I'm guessing these people are going to pull guard, and what they're going to try to do is either take someone's back or submit them from the bottom. So the first person we have here is Tommy Langacker. Tommy can actually play top position too, and his wrestling isn't terrible. However, he's mostly known for his guard. In the guard position, he oftentimes goes for the matrix transition to the back, which he's very, very good at. And in general, he's just very, very aggressive with his guard. He's constantly attacking, so people have to be careful. I think one of his weaknesses is he doesn't often submit people from the bottom. He more uses the bottom position to either get on top or usually just take the back. However, his aggressiveness seems to cause problems for a lot of people. This type of always go mentality and the fact that he's one of those people who won't tap easily seems to really bother some people, and he can kind of wear people down, and if the first attack doesn't get you, the 7th, 8th, or 9th will. So I think he has a good chance here. The next person I thought we'd look at is Owen O'Flanagan. Owen O'Flanagan is actually very big for this division. At ADCC, he's fighting at under 88, or he was fighting at under 88. And here he's going to be fighting at under 80, but he's a big under 88, so I was actually surprised he was able to make weight. Owen is also mostly a guard player, but unlike Tommy, he's mostly a submission artist. He does sweep, but he mostly seems to be going for submissions. And in fact, I think he might be the most dangerous person from the bottom with submissions. He oftentimes goes for heel hooks and choi bars, but he can obviously do other things as well. However, he has a wide variety of leg locks he likes to do, so you have to be careful because he can kind of get them anytime. For such a big person, he has a very flexible guard, and he looks actually really strong. He might be one of the strongest people. He's definitely one of the strongest people from the guard position. So if he gets a hold of you, who knows what will happen. His choi bar, as I said, is also very, very good, and just in general, he's a finisher. So I think anybody in this tournament has to watch out for him. I think one weakness he has, though, is his lack of wrestling and maybe top control. I haven't seen him wrestle too much, and his top control, I haven't seen that much of that from his game either. He usually pulls guard, so I don't know how well he'll be able to get on top or even stay on top if he does get there. And usually that may not be a problem if it was IBJJF or something, but in this tournament that could actually be a problem for him, and he could lose rounds just because he can't get anything going from the bottom position. With Owen's strength and just tricky technique, I think he can pose a problem for anyone. So I think people are really going to have to be careful with him because sometimes it may seem like they're getting the better of him and he's just going to reverse them for the quick sub. Although Owen isn't my pick to win the whole thing, I think he is very likely to pick up the sub of the tournament bonus. So I'm not sure if that's happening. Craig Jones said they might have a $50,000 sub of the event bonus, and I think Owen very well could pick that up. Next up we have Levi Jones-Leary. Levi Jones-Leary is mostly known as a gi player, but in the last year or two, he's been doing more no gi, and he actually won the Asia, Oceania, and Australia ADCC trials. He's looked very good, and I think a lot of people were impressed by his progress in no gi. He's being coached by Lachlan Giles, and that showed up in his leg lock defense. I think lots of people were expecting him to get leg locked easily, but he's actually shown fairly good defense. Now, Levi mostly plays guard, as everyone in the yellow does, but on top of that, he's very, very good at taking the back. He may be one of the most technical people here. He definitely is when it comes to back takes and barambolos. You have to be very careful because he can kind of hit those at a moment's notice. He's very good at inverting, and even if you think you've stopped the first attack, he can switch to a crab ride, a leg drag, etc., and make sure he kind of puts you away. So I think lots of people are going to have to be careful with this. Some people might think they can counter that with a leg lock, but I don't really know if that's going to be possible. Levi is very tricky when it comes to that. He mostly finishes from the back, and he's very good at getting there. However, one weakness I think he has is his top game isn't quite as developed as his bottom game. He has some problems passing, and on top of that, from the bottom, he doesn't have such a dangerous guard submission-wise. He's very good at taking the back and also sweeping, but he may not be hitting these people with, triangles or arm bars from his back. But you never know, maybe Lachlan Giles will help him with some choi bars, break that out. But as of right now, I don't know how much of a threat he is from the bottom submission-wise. I think Levi has a good chance of getting some nice highlight reels off here. Without wrestling and top skills, I don't know how well he'll do, but you never know. I think lots of people were picking Joseph Chin to beat him recently in their match, and Levi showed he's very experienced and very technical, and against anyone, he can take their back if you make a mistake. Finally, we have Majid Haig. I put Majid in the guard players, but honestly, he could be in some other categories. He's actually a little bit more versatile than just a guard player, but I think he'll probably pull against a lot of the people here. Majid usually plays half guard, and he's very good at it. He has some nice, like John Wayne sweeps. I think I've seen him doing some deep half guard before, but he actually has some very good overhook and underhook attacks from there, so he can catch you with an arm bar very quickly if you're not paying attention. He can do a lot from the bottom. He can sweep, he can take the back, and he can also submit you, so I think people really need to be careful. He's probably not as aggressive as a Tommy Langacker, and I'm not sure if his technique is quite as sharp as Owen O'Flanagan, and I'm not sure if his back takes are as good as Levi, but he kind of combines them all together, so you're not really sure what he's going to do. And on top of that, once he gets on top of you, he can actually submit you from there too, so you have a lot of things to worry about. Majid hasn't been competing too much, so I don't know if that kind of rust will affect him or not, but he's in there, and I think he has a good shot, especially for the submission of the tournament. Now let's talk about the people highlighted in red. I'm going to call these people the wrestlers or the top players. The first person we have is Jason Nolf, who is a 3-time NCAA championship wrestler. Very, very good, very technical as well. Not only is he technical, he's fast, he's strong, and has tons of experience. On the feet, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to match him. I'm kind of interested to see if anyone else will even try to stand with him, maybe trick him or do something with him, or if everyone's just going to pull guard when they see him across from them in the alley, is what they're calling their pit. So we'll see. Luckily, he doesn't have lots of experience in BJJ. I think he's a blue belt, so we'll see how that works out. I imagine lots of people are going to try to do jiu-jitsu with him and just skip the wrestling altogether. Maybe they'll try to take his back from the bottom, or maybe just heel hook him really fast. I think he probably will have a good takedown though, so I'm interested to see how it plays out, especially against some of the other red highlighted people. I'm wondering what they're going to do against him. Next, we have Lucas Hulk Barbosa, a very, very experienced competitor, a no-gi world champion, ADCC silver medalist, I believe. He has very good wrestling as well, maybe not as good as Nolf, but still very good, and has a very good top game with really nice passes. He usually puts the pressure on people and eventually just grinds them out until he can get the submission. One thing I'm a little bit worried about is he hasn't been doing a lot of submission grappling. Recently, he's been trying to transition into MMA. I'm wondering if that's taken his focus away. Also, he's competed all the way up to under 99 kilos for ADCC. That's where he got a silver medal. Last time he got a silver medal also at under 88, but now this is under 80. I'm surprised he could actually make this weight. So we'll see if the weight cut or anything affects him, as well as the kind of ring rust from not doing a lot of no-gi grappling recently and doing MMA. Also, he's getting older, so that also could play a factor. But he's also dangerous and likely the strongest person here. Next up, we have Mateus Diniz. He's named King Kong, so as you can imagine, he's super strong. It's either between him and Hulk who the strongest person in this under 80 kilogram category is. He's also a former ADCC gold medalist, and he's coming down from under 88 kilograms. He's very big, very strong, and very experienced. He's very good from the top position. It's hard to really get anything going with him. He has fairly decent leg lock defense and just defense in general. It's really hard to just make any kind of offense happen against him. One thing I would be worried about is the exact same things as Hulk. Diniz hasn't been doing MMA as far as I know, but he hasn't been very active in no-gi, and when he has been active, hasn't looked too good, especially in his match against Marigali. So I'm wondering if he's on the tail end of his career and he may not be as effective as he was before, or I could be completely wrong and he just comes out and smashes everyone. We'll see, but I think for him it's kind of a wild card. Finally, we have Andy Varela, who honestly could be put in a different category, but he does like to wrestle and doesn't like to play guard too often. I don't think he's going to be pulling much. I think one of the things he really has going for him is he has very good cardio, he has good heart, he's very durable, and he won't stop. Unlike some of the other people, he keeps a fairly high pace, so don't expect him to just kind of sit there and stall. He will, at the very least, just club you and kind of push you around and keep things moving, which will help him here since this is a pit. He might be able to just shove people into the wall and take them down like that. I think one of the problems is he's a top player, but he's not one of the strongest people in this division. Unlike Hulk or Diniz or Jason Nolf, he may be slightly smaller than some of the people. Even some of the other people who aren't known as wrestlers might be able to take him down here, so I think that could cause him some problems here. I think unlike some of the other people, he does have fairly good like flash submissions, so he might be able to catch someone, get on someone's back in a transition and sub them out there. So he wouldn't be my favorite to win here, but I think he does have some good chances to win some matches and also just look good, make a highlight reel for himself. Now let's look at the people in purple. These are the people who I'd say are extremely versatile, or might call them a jack of all trades, or maybe technical fighters. No matter how you want to look at it, I think these are people who can kind of do everything. They can wrestle, they can play guard, they have submissions, etc. So the first one I think we should look at is Joseph Chin. Joseph Chin has looked very, very good recently. He qualified for ADCC by winning the European trials, and overall, I think he's just really, really good almost everywhere. He has very good leg locks. He's shown now that he can wrestle. He has a very good guard. Just overall, very strong from every place. The only thing I think that might be a weakness for him is he just doesn't have a lot of experience, and sometimes he kind of makes mistakes in matches. And so I think a lot of people thought he kind of outgrew that, but his match with Levi Jones-Leary at Polaris shows that sometimes he can still get himself in trouble, and so I'm a little bit worried about that. Also, with some of the bigger people, they might be able to, just shut him down that way, so we'll see. But overall, I think his chances are good, but he's not a favorite for me. Next up, we have Nicky Ryan. Nicky Ryan is very technical, good in all areas, as I said before. He has a very good guard, very good wrestling. He can pass. He has extremely good leg locks, and even triangles and things too. Overall, he's very strong. I think technique-wise, he might be one of the better people in this tournament, especially when it comes to finishing. However, his flaw over the last few years has just been cardio, basically. He's also had some problems, especially with John Gracie, just being overpowered, so I'm wondering how it will go when he gets in there with someone like Mateus Diniz or Hulk. These types of things could really derail him. I think if he can win the match in like under 5 minutes in the first round, I think he'll be fine, but as it drags on, he could find himself in trouble. One of the good things about him is Nicky Ryan can kind of do any type of style. He can pull guard and just try to leg lock you if he wants. He could pull guard and try to take someone's back. He could wrestle someone. He could pass their guard if they pull guard. There's lots of things he can do, and he's dangerous from almost everywhere, except for at the end of the match. That's when maybe his effectiveness will decrease. Overall, Nicky is very, very good, but due to perhaps lack of experience and cardio issues, I don't think he's the favorite to win this division. For the last person in purple, we have Kenta Iwamoto. Kenta is very, very technical and well-rounded. Kenta has shown wrestling in the last maybe 4 years or so, maybe 3 years or so. When he first came on the scene, he won the 80cc trials at under 66, and he won it by just using leg locks. However, after that, he moved up to 77 and really started working on his wrestling, and now it's really good. If you watch his match with Mika Galval, you can see how much he's developed that. So he's very good finishing from the back, very good with leg locks, good wrestling, good passing, just overall very solid. One thing I'm worried about though is he seems like a blown up under 66 kilogram competitor, and although he does well at under 77, he seems to sometimes get overpowered by bigger people. This one has even larger people like Mateus Diniz or Hulk, and I'm wondering if that will kind of hinder him there. Overall, I think his cardio is pretty good, but just being overpowered or being held down could be a problem for him. Personally, I don't think Kenta is going to win this, but I think he can put on a good showing and impress people. At the last 80cc, he took down JT Torres, and some people thought he maybe should have won, but he didn't win there, and I think maybe he's going to meet the same fate here at CJI, but hopefully he can put on another impressive performance. Let's get into the last category, and those are the people that are highlighted in green. I'm going to call these people maybe the Scramblers or the Flash sub guys, etc. So the first person we have here is Hanato Kanuto. So Hanato Kanuto might be the most exciting person in here. Of course, that's debatable, but he's definitely the person with the most Flash subs. He's very good at flying arm bars, so people have to be concerned about him standing and on the ground. In the last Fight Pass Invitational, he kind of went for, I think it was like a Kanye Basami to heel hook too. So you really have to be careful with him because he can hit you standing on the ground, etc. And he has a wide variety of submissions he can hit you with. And he doesn't really get so tired, so you can't really just hope to gas him out so he won't be dangerous. He's going to be dangerous from the beginning of the match till the end. That said, I think a weakness of his is sometimes he's a little bit too reckless, and I think he probably can be just held down and taken out that way, where somebody just takes him down and just grinds him out. So he might have to be worried about that. Overall, I don't think he is going to be the favorite to win this, but he might be the favorite to win the best submission of the tournament. I think he can probably pull off something like a flying arm bar or some weird leg lock or like some cartwheel guard pass that just looks really impressive and maybe puts a good show on for everyone. Next we have Roberto Jimenez. Roberto is the current IBJJF no-gi absolute champion, I believe. He's very good, and we've seen him kind of develop over the years. He probably has the most dangerous back attack out of anyone here. Not only is he fast with it, but he can get it from lots of different places. Someone like maybe Tommy Langacker or Levi usually only get theirs from bottom from like a Berimbolo or Matrix, but Roberto can kind of do everything. Every once in a while you see him do a Berimbolo, he'll go from close guard and climb on your back, he'll jump over you when he's on top passing, he can take your back standing, and he's just really, really dangerous. He's caught quite a few people with it. Even the 80cc champion, Cade Ruotolo, Roberto got on his back and choked him. So if he can do it to him, he can do it to almost anyone. I think one of the things that's been a problem for him throughout his career is leg locks. He could easily be leg locked. In the last year or so, he hasn't been leg locked and his defenses look better. So I'll give him credit. That part's good. Also, he's been going against bigger people and he's looked good against these bigger people as well. But the leg locks and the fact that he sometimes just gets too wild could end up hurting him. Sometimes he just gets in scrambles and then ends up in a bad position, and that could end up losing him the match. Overall, Roberto wouldn't be my favorite to win this, but I think he has a good chance. I wouldn't be shocked if he won. It just kind of depends on the day. He's kind of hot and cold. Next up is Tai Ruotolo. Tai Ruotolo is very, very good. He got third in the absolute of ADCC last time, and overall just very dangerous with a wide skill set. He can play guard, he can do lots of different things, but I think in general he likes to wrestle and take people's backs or darce them. He's shown lots of good skills in other areas too, like leg locks. He's not afraid to leg lock people, and he will pull guard sometimes, which kind of confuses people, I think. Overall, he's really, really hard to control, and he's really, really hard to submit. In fact, lots of times when people try to submit him, he ends up countering them and then submitting them in turn. So I think he has a good shot of winning. He might be the favorite here, but you never know. One thing to keep in mind, in his last match against Joseph Chin, he didn't look quite as good as he normally does, and I think part of that is just Joseph Chin's very good, but the other part is he said he had a neck injury. And so between that time and CJI is about a month, so I don't know if he'll be able to overcome that neck injury and be at 100% for this. Also, he said before that match he wasn't able to train properly, so if he's not able to train properly now, that's going to be almost like 2 months without proper training or so. So he may not be at 100%, so I can't say that he's definitely going to win, but I think he is definitely one of the favorites. Next up is Tai's brother, Cade Ruotolo. Cade is the current under 77 kilogram ADCC champion. He's just looked really, really good recently. In fact, he's even gone into MMA and he won his MMA fight by rear naked choke. Cade has almost the exact same attributes as his brother Tai. The only difference is Cade is a little bit more wild. Cade isn't afraid to, pull guard, let somebody pass his guard for a buggy choke, try to cartwheel over somebody's guard, etc. He's much more wild and more likely to cause a scramble if things aren't really moving than Tai is. Tai is a little bit more patient. Cade will try to disrupt the rhythm by just doing something crazy. Lots of times this works for him, occasionally it doesn't, and that could get him in trouble here. I think that's one of his weaknesses. If he gets too wild, there's lots of dangerous people here. They might finish him or might just be able to control him if he does that. So we'll kind of see. It'll maybe depend upon if it's his day or not. When he's on, he's pretty much unstoppable. But as I said, it depends on the day. So we'll see. But I think he's definitely one of the favorites to win this. Finally, we have Andrew Tackett. Him and his brother were the first people to be announced for CJI, and recently he's looked very, very good. Andrew can play from almost any position, but his style is actually very similar to Cade Ruotolo. He likes to move, he likes to wrestle, and he isn't afraid to do something wild if the match is getting kind of slow and boring. He'll disrupt it. In the scrambles, he can usually take someone's back and choke them, which I think is probably his best position, but he can do lots of other things as well, like leg locks, arm locks, etc. You always have to be careful with him. If there's one weakness he has, I think it's probably his lack of experience and the fact that he does wild things. Just like Cade, he can sometimes get himself in trouble, and that could end up costing him matches. If he's on, I think he could win. If he's not, I don't know. Overall, I don't think he's one of the favorites, but he could definitely do well, and I wouldn't be surprised if he won. So, there you have it. Let's talk about the interaction of the rules and which people are going to have the advantage. Normally, with the pit, I would say the people in red, so for example, Mateus Diniz or Jason Nolf, would have the advantage here because they can push people into the pit and knock them down and control them. However, due to the fact that there's going to be a 10-point must system and they're going to allow guard pulling, I believe, I think the people in green, the Scramblers, actually have the advantage. Because of this 10-point must system, I'm guessing they're going to judge basically on probably sub attempts or activity. Lots of the people in red aren't that active with actual attempts at things. I think they probably take their time, wait for a takedown, get the takedown, stay on top, etc. So I could see someone who likes to scramble kind of neutralizing that, or even the people who are guard players, like the yellow people, they could also kind of neutralize that with submission attempts. And also, the people in red can't hold them down for a long time just because of the rounds. After 5 minutes, they're going to get stood up no matter what. So I think the people in green probably have the advantage rule set wise. I think also the people in purple also have a fair chance just because they can kind of adapt to the rules, and because they have so many different skills, they might be able to turn up their aggression, turn down their aggression, and game plan for the different opponents. Whereas the people in green, I don't know if they can really do that so much. They don't seem to be able to calm themselves down and play a more tactical game. So I think purple might have an advantage there. Yellow, it could work for them, but I'd be a little bit worried that people aren't going to engage that much. And even when they do engage into someone's guard, you only have about 5 minutes before you're stood up. So I think the people in yellow are at a bit of a disadvantage, and I'm not sure how well they're going to do. But we'll see. You never know. Overall, my picks would be Cade Ruotolo, Ty Ruotolo, and Lucas Barbosa to win. I think dark horses would probably be Andrew Tackett, Roberto Jimenez, and maybe Mateus Denise and Owen O'Flanagan. So it kind of depends. For lots of these people, it's really going to depend on the day. This is one of those brackets where lots of the people are kind of like hot and cold, or they're people that maybe it will depend on the rule set or how they feel that day. So this one is a little bit hard to predict, but one thing I can predict is it's going to be really good, really fun, and it's going to have lots of action. So be sure to watch it. I'll be covering it, doing stats and all that kind of stuff. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't done that. I'll also be doing the over 80 kilograms soon, so be sure to subscribe so I can tell you about that one too. For now, if you like this, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave those down below. And until next time, see you.